Alright, welcome. This video is going to be a little bit different in the sense of we're not going to be S ranking anything. We're just going to be talking about some builds and build possibilities for when you're considering S ranks. So everything's going to depend on your playstyle. I find that being more mobile is better for S ranking because there are not speed, excuse me, time constraints. You can only take a certain amount of damage, and your ammo expenditure matters. So for me, the answer to that is I'm going to be a quick build. I can move fast, dodge fire, but also carry a lot of power. And the only reason I can carry a lot of power like this right now is because the dual Zimmermans, I'm sure you already heard, they're broken. They will stagger most enemies with a single shot from each. And then I am experimenting with hanger weapons rather than carrying like a missile launcher or a cannon. So staggering with the Zimmermans and then swapping to the Moonlight. I found it to be pretty successful so far. And I don't think it's going to be that good for the later boss battles. I do have a build in mind when I get there. But I did most of the boss battles like this, except I had a vertical missile launcher and the laser turret. Laser drone, this guy. And I do like this guy. He's pretty drainy. EN load is 570 and also kind of heavy. But it allows you to keep pressure on. Say you're about to stagger and you want to back off. These guys will follow the target and continue to shoot. So I do like those for that. Missile launcher wise, so let me just say this. This build is, like I was saying, for bosses mainly. So, or enemy or missions that don't have a lot of enemies at the same time. This build's great for it. But for instance, intercept the red guns where you have to fight Michigan. The amount of enemies in that area, this build does not lend itself to that very well. So for missions like that, I've kind of been stuck on this missile launcher. It's plasma missile launcher. It's a vertical. It fires 5 in a salvo, and it deals good AoE damage. Impact not so much, but I'm not really using this on bosses. I mean, obviously you can because it does decent damage, but the main reason I carry it is to kill multiple enemies at the same time. So in the video, it shows him, he locks one guy, whatever, kills him, and the next one it shows 5 dudes and he multi-locks. This is not necessary with this launcher. Now if you want to kill every single one of them in there, yeah, sure, you can multi-lock just to ensure that. But when enemies are close together like that, you can get away with just locking one, saving the time from the multi-lock, and you'll probably still kill 3 or 4 out of that group because of the AoE, and that's why I like these so much. It will kill most MTs in one missile hit. So, I mean, if you multi-lock 5 and they're spread apart, you can take 5 MTs out of the fight that easily. And this was a lifesaver for me when I was doing the Michigan boss fight. Other missiles, I did use these for a little bit. They're also pretty good. They fly straight towards the enemy, and they kind of create like a plasma wall, rather than, yeah, like exactly like that. So these would also be pretty solid. They just don't necessarily track the target individually. They more or less focus on making a wall of AoE damage, which is pretty good. I like this needle missile launcher. It can be hard to hit. It does good damage and also good stagger damage. You'll notice on a lot of my videos and a lot of my builds, I try to stay away from weapons that force me to recoil because I don't like stopping. You're taking a large risk there because you're not moving anymore. You're opening yourself up to fire, and it could miss if the enemy's not already staggered. And I've noticed sometimes that by the time I finish maneuvering, and I go to fire these, the enemy is already not staggered anymore and they're shooting back. So this is a little bit more high risk. Same thing with basically all the weapons that make you recoil and stop. Speed is life for me because of my lower AP, and in S ranks you can't really use the repair kits, so I'd rather just stay on the move. The suit, good missile launcher. I like the design, it cracks me up. Looks like a bunch of solar panels on your back. These are really good for missile boating, keeping up fire because of their fast reload time, and they do a lot of damage. However, these do not carry any multi-lock, so that is an issue. Good for boss fights, I would say, but not much else outside of PvP. I have used these. I used them on the Street Cleaner boss fight. That video is live. I feel like this didn't do me service very well on the Street Cleaner boss fight. I was using these as well because of the weight of these, of the 12 cells. So I had a 12 cell partnered with an 8 cell. And I feel like the 8 cell was much better at tracking, whereas the 12 cells didn't always hit the mark. So if you were, I don't know, I would say this would be a good launcher for the Juggernaut, but not so much for the Street Cleaner, just due to precision. Light wave cannon. This is going to be good on enemies that have pulse shields, like Balteus. This would be good for Balteus. Other than that, I really haven't used it that much. The stun needle launcher, pretty solid stats. It's another one of those things where I don't like to recoil, but if you're running a tank build, this does good damage and good stagger. And then the songbirds, right? The songbirds are amazing. You know, for what they are, they come at a pretty good weight, and they also do a lot of attack power and a lot of impact. These are, I'm imagining when I get to the later bosses, I'll probably switch to a reverse joint build and use dual songbirds with dual Zimmermans to cheese the fuck out of that fight, or those fights. But we'll see. I like this build I have right now a lot. Okay. So the build itself, I'm mostly, like I was saying, I'm going for speed, but I also like to have a little bit of AP. And that's kind of the trade-off. A lot of my parts, I try to keep pretty light on the EN load, just so my generator has a better time. This part is better, definitely, but I also like a little bit of armor decor. When I first started my actual job, I was told, you gotta look good to be good, and that is carried out in my heart for a long time. And this is kind of where my AP comes in. I also like this because it looks like a 3rd gen part off the starter AC and Armored Core 3. But it has good stats, a good amount of defense, and it's not super draining. So for me, that makes it a good part for me. And I feel like this could also be another good part, just because of the EN load, the weight. But you're losing a lot of defense with this. Yeah, arms. So I go for high fire specialization, and these arms also carry pretty decent melee specialization. That's kind of why I rock these arms. Legs, I'm testing with these legs right now. I like their aesthetic, however, they are lacking in a lot of areas. So AP, not very good. The defenses, not very good. Compared to something like the Mind Alpha, who weighs quite a bit more. Hold on. Let me find something a little bit more comparable. So I like the HALs a lot. As you can see, way better stats-wise. a lot heavier, a little bit more drainy too, but you're not losing very much speed with these. So these are, in my opinion, a really good set of legs. And I do use these legs for other builds. But like I said, I'm just testing these right now. These actually do have kind of decent defense once I compared it to the other light legs. Okay, so booster. One thing about the boosters, right? They have a quick boost reload ideal weight. So this one is 76,000 pounds. I'm considerably under that. There is another booster that I would like to use. However, I'm way over the quick boost reload ideal weight. And what that does is it penalizes your quick boost reload. So you won't be able to do it as fast. If you were running a lighter build, this would be a decent booster, an okay booster for doing melee stuff. Just the attack thrust is really good. And the energy consumption during your melee attack is also not bad. This one, though, has way better. But it's also much slower. So it's just one of those things. It's a lot less drainy. Like, this would be a good... If you plan on moving constantly, just not at a very fast pace, this would be a good booster for you. Has a really good reload ideal weight as well, so probably for heavier builds. Maybe like reverse joints, since those are naturally faster. Anyways, you don't have to worry too much about that boost speed. But I do like the BST G2s. I feel like they're a pretty decent all-around booster, especially when it comes to just regular thrust. They're best in class, and I stand to benefit a lot from that. This is the FCS I'm rocking. I use it primarily because my primary weapons are close range weapons, and this has the best close range assist. I want to make sure. Yeah. It has the best close range assist, which helps me out a lot. It does suffer in the missile lock correction and multi-lock correction categories. And I'm looking to, I might play around with it a little bit after this with this one, because the trade-off for your close range assist is not too terribly bad, because you get a lot of missile lock correction and multi-lock correction. So I might play around with that a little bit and see. Weighs considerably more than my current FCS and is also more draining on the generator. But that's why I'm saying I might play around with it, test it out, see if it's worth it. This is the generator I typically run, the Ming Tang. I like it because of how fast it recharges. With this build, my recharge delay is less than a second, and basically all that means is as soon as I touch the ground, if I'm on the ground for more than a second, I'm recharging energy, and it recharges at a pretty quick rate. It has pretty bad post-recovery EN supply, and what that means is once you run out of energy and you start recharging, you'll have a set amount immediately available once the recharge starts. This is pretty low on that. If we go down to, say, the coral generators, they are very high on that. So this one, the NGI, basically what this is saying, once you recharge or start recharging, your bar is going to be full immediately, but you have to wait 4 seconds. For my type of build, I like the flexibility that the Ming Tang offers. So if I mismanage my energy, it's not a 4-second punishment. This generator is going to be good for like heavier builds, and also missions to where you may be doing a lot of assault boosting with cover in between. So like the tunnel sabotage, this could be helpful. Just keep in mind, as soon as you run out of assault boost, you're going to be stationary for 4 seconds. And that is a big deal in this game, because you're a sitting duck for 4 seconds. But I feel like this is also, like, this is two extremes. You know, this one is the exact opposite of this one. It's light, it recovers quickly, but not a lot. So you could probably find a middle of the road generator that might benefit you a little bit more, like the VP20. It looks pretty good. Good post recovery, good capacity, okay recharge, and then supply recovery is also eh. Okay. And then expansions. So for expansions, I'll rotate between two of these. If I'm doing S ranks or campaign stuff, I'll typically use Pulse Armor. If I'm doing PvP, I'll usually run Terminal Armor. Terminal Armor will make you so much more of a nuisance, because as soon as you get down to 1 AP, it automatically deploys basically Pulse Armor. But I like the flexibility of having Pulse Armor immediately or on demand. I prefer that a lot more for doing S ranks. So let's take a peek at the AC data and see if there's anything worth talking about. So this is pretty much the first iteration of my build. Not bad. I built it to be more versatile. And this one got me through a majority of New Game Plus and New Game Plus Plus. At the end of New Game Plus Plus, I started experimenting with other builds, seeing what I like. And this build is pretty strong. If you're on PC, drop a comment and I can share the code with you. This is probably the AC I'm going to be switching to in the later boss fights, solely because of the dual Zimmermans, the dual Songbirds, and you're still fairly mobile. I'm probably going to update it a little bit, and you'll probably see it later in my S rank uploads, depending on how everything goes. This is a build I was playing around with. Dual rifles. Dual rifles are mediocre, compared to the current meta of dual Gatling guns, dual Zimmermans, stuff like that. I'm really waiting for a buff because I would love to use this build. I like the flexibility it offers, engaging at multiple ranges, so you can keep people at arm's length, but also you can do decent damage up close as well. I like the flexibility that offers, but right now they're kind of worthless. It's a PvP build, missile boating, really fun. It's pretty gross too. Like it's hard to kill missile boats, especially in the 3v3, because those guys will just go up and float at the very top, and you may never even see them. You're just getting smoked by missiles. Queen's Decree, that's a PvP build. Super speedy, pretty devastating with the laser dagger because you can get 3 consecutive hits. I enjoy that build quite a bit. And it's just testing. It's basically the build I have now. I've just modified it to fit my needs better. And matter of fact, let me save my current build because I like that. I like this better so far. The only instance that I would consider switching out the dual Zimmermans are for enemies that you just cannot be close to. So, an example, Honest Brute. It's one of Carla's missions. You will fight him prior to killing the Ice Worm. I switched to dual Gats for that, solely because he carries a flamethrower, and those flamethrowers, you don't really see them a lot, but those are actually pretty brutal. They'll inflict a status effect on you called ACS Anomaly, and what that does is it increases the amount of impact or stagger you take when you have that status effect, and it's pretty brutal. I want to say it's like 50% you take more. You take 50% more impact. Jesus, words are hard. So yeah, my OS tuning, everything's unlocked. I pretty much waited until I finished New Game Plus, beat all the endings prior to doing my S ranks, so I don't really have to pick and choose here. If I did have to pick and choose, I'm going with Boost Kick. I'm still testing Weapon Bay. I think it's pretty powerful, but we'll pass on that for a must. Pulse Armor, I think that's definitely a must. All of these, depending on what weapons you intend to use, you definitely want the fire control tuning just because of the up and damage. Access speed is hit or miss. I would honestly, if you're doing a mission that you need a quicker access speed, you can just respec your OS upgrades. So with on Xbox it's Y, on PlayStation it's triangle. I'm not sure what it is on PC, even though I'm playing this on PC, but it's not giving me the button prompt. Yeah, this is pretty good. So this is gonna decrease the amount of damage that you take. It's not bad. And then repair kits, yeah. As soon as you're able to get these upgrades, take them. If you're going for S ranks, not necessarily as important because you really can't use them anyways. You can. I've seen a video of someone using one and still obtaining the S rank, but at that point you're leaving it up to chance, in my opinion. Like, I don't know for a fact if I'm getting an S rank. Did I take too much damage? I don't know. So I just typically tend to stay away from using repair kits at all when I'm going for S ranks. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it, guys. Like I said, the video is a little bit off the cuff. I was switching up my loadout, and I was thinking like, well, I should probably explain my thought process and why I would switch my loadout. As you'll see in most of the S rank videos, I'm going to be using dual Zimmermans until I encounter another enemy that I just can't really get close to, and then I'll swap them out, figure something else out. Yeah, thanks for tuning in. Like and subscribe, or don't. I'm not really doing this to go big on YouTube or make those YouTube bucks. I'm just passionate about this game. I waited 10 years for this game. Wasn't a huge fan of Armored Core 5 or Verdict Day, so really I pretty much waited until Armored Core 4 and For Answer came out, which I think that was like 06 and 07. So it's been a long time since I've been this excited and this happy or content with what an AC has provided. Just some house cleaning notes. I plan on releasing a review of this game, some more long form content. If you guys are interested in that, stick around. If you have any questions about any of the terms you see in assembly, like any of the specs, go ahead and drop a comment, ask a question. It's not a big deal. I'm just trying to help people enjoy this game as much as I do. Yeah, I think that's going to be it for this upload. Hope you guys have a good day, and now, drink some fucking water. That's really important. Alright? Stop drinking your Mountain Dews. Drink some water. Alright, I'll catch you guys later.